talks already. We have another excellent one coming up right now. Just a little housekeeping. We will be open at the fair until 3 o'clock, so please stop by vendors. But right now, we'd like to introduce Dr. Jan Kaplan with A+ Elder Care Assistance. Dr. Kaplan is the owner of A+ Elder Care Assistance, and she was introduced to caregiving when she was only 5 years old. Her Aunt Marley had a brain tumor. Jan's mom was Marley's main caregiver. Jan and her sisters tagged along. It was their job to help Marley ambulate with her walker. Jan's careers involved being a caregiver, chiropractor, and case manager. She lived in Minnesota for 50 years. When she and her husband Bob moved to Tucson 6 years ago, things came full circle. She got back into caregiving. She was inspired to launch her own company, and with her commitment to being better than the best, she came up with the name A+ Elder Care Assistance. Dr. Jan believes that people should be able to live in their homes until they pass away, instead of moving into a facility that is their wish, if that is their wish. So fasten your seatbelts, because she has tons of tips to share with you so you don't get blindsided. So please, a warm welcome for Dr. Jan Kaplan with Don't Get Caught with Your Pants Down.
We have somebody that's checking on if someone is hard of hearing. Are you okay? You can hear me all right? How's everybody else? Okay. How many of you came to this seminar because it sounded like it was going to be a little bit fun? And how many of you came here because you thought you were going to get tons of wonderful tips? And how many of you just wandered in here because you needed a place to sit down? Well, regardless of how you ended up in here, I hope that you are glad that you came in by the time I'm finished. I'd like to start with something funny, and there were these two gentlemen that were actually twin brothers. They were at a Medicare seminar. They both passed away at the same exact time, and they were at Heaven's Gates trying to figure out how on earth they happened to pass away at the same exact time. And the one brother says, just when we were finally learning and understanding about Medicare. I wasn't sure if that was going to be a flop or not. How many times have you heard someone say, I'm never going to understand Medicare until the day I die? I promise the jokes get better. So I want, as he said, fasten your seatbelts. I've got a lot that I want to cover in 45 minutes. And I do want to take just a moment of silence for us to think of all of those people that have suffered under Hurricane Helene. If we could just take a moment. Thank you for doing that. So my first tip, sorry, I'm used to this microphone. My first tip is to plan for the absolute worst, and then expect the very best, and then you will not get caught with your pants down. Now at age 23, I was not expecting anything bad to happen to me, because when you're 23, you can get through anything, and nothing bad is going to happen to you. So I do want to warn you, I am going to share some pictures. These first pictures are of my vehicle when I was in a crash. So if you're a little squeamish and you don't want to see these images, please cover your eyes or close your eyes. So the vehicle on the left was my vehicle, and the vehicle on the right was the vehicle that crashed into me. I was T-boned, and I think I forgot to mention I did not have my seatbelt on. So I was thrown from the vehicle, and the next pictures are what my body looked like. And surprisingly, I didn't break a bone. Oops, I went too fast. Okay. So I still have scars on my face from this accident, and I was very bruised, but I didn't break anything. But my mother had to come and take care of me because I was in such bad shape that I could not dress myself. I couldn't even wipe myself after going to the bathroom. So when I tell my clients, I understand how hard it is to ask for help when you can't do it yourself and you know that you could or you want to. It's hard, and I understand that. So I've been there. But it did not stop me from driving because life is full of risks. So you get in your car and you keep on going. Well, life is full of risks too, but it doesn't mean that we stop living. And I like to hike alone, but I can guarantee you, oops, well, I don't know how to use this thing. The people up there are on that little cliff and jumping. There's no way in a million years that I personally am going to take a risk like that. But other people might. And so we're all on a continuum of the risks that we are willing to take. I mentioned that I like to hike, but I hike alone. How many of you think I'm a little bit nuts to be going out hiking alone? Quite a few of you. And I would agree with you. But what happens is when I go hiking with other people, I don't have any fun at all because I'm so worried about them. Are they going to trip? Are they going to fall? Are they going to get hurt? So I don't enjoy myself. So I take the risk to go out on my own hiking, but I do that because I plan ahead for what could happen. So for me, as I said, plan for the absolute worst. To me, the absolute worst would be I'm going to slip, fall down a cliff, break bones, I'm going to fall into a cactus, and my water bottle and phone go tumbling down the hill. To me, that, and maybe a rattlesnake and a scorpion. That's probably the absolute worst. So what I want to do is plan that, okay, if something really bad happens, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be able to get myself out of it. And if not, well, the alternative is I may leave this world, and that's a chance I'm willing to take. So how many of you think that living alone has its risks also? Absolutely. Yep. Life, no matter what we do, it's risky. So my second tip is for you to get an emergency call button. How many of you already have one of those buttons? Wow. Or maybe if you have the fall detection or something on your phone. Just start thinking about that. What if I were to start choking? What if I were to have a heart attack? What if I fell and broke a hip and I don't have my phone on me? How am I going to get the help that I need? And not that I want everybody to be doom and gloom, but I think it's important that you think, what if? And how can I plan for the what ifs? My little clicker is going to keep working. So according to the CDC website, 1 in 4 adults fall in a year. So just look next to you. I know that's really crowded in here, but just think 1 in 4 people. So it might be you. So what you want to do is prepare and have that call button. Now one particular story, this is my father down on the bottom there in the checkered. It was his 79th birthday. I picked him up from the nursing home. We went and had a 79th birthday party, had a great time. Took him back to the nursing home, helped him get into bed, and then the next day when I came to pick him up, or to visit him because I had to leave, it was a Saturday, it was his birthday, and then Sunday I had to go back home. He was coming down the hallway, instead of using his wheelchair to move his legs to bring himself down, he was along the wall and he was pulling himself with his arms, and I thought, that's weird. I've never seen him do that before. So I said, Dad, what's going on? He said, Janie, I think I broke my hip. But he was wearing blue jeans, and I thought, there's no way that this man broke his hip and got blue jeans on, right? That's in my head. Plus, it was before I became a chiropractor, so I didn't really know the things that I know now as a chiropractor of, the body and how you can overcome pain and all of that. So I took him to, so my sister ended up taking him in, and sure enough, he had a fractured hip. And he had surgery. He never appointed a power of attorney, though. And believe it or not, my sister and I didn't always agree on what was best, and my dad was one of these people, he never voiced his opinion on anything. So he would just let us argue back and forth about what to do. Whereas if he had appointed a power of attorney, it would have been clearer who was in charge. So if you have not already appointed a power of attorney, that's something that you want to consider doing. And I see that this is cut off a little bit. Tip number 3 is, part of it is, do your kids a favor and appoint a power of attorney. And if you don't have children or you don't trust your children, you can always hire someone that would be willing to take that role on for you. The next tip, number 4, is to get a financial power of attorney. And that may not be the same person that does the decisions for your medical. It can be 2 separate people. Don't have to be the same person. And you definitely want that to be someone that you trust quite well. Now, regarding finances, I have a little story here. There were 3 sons, and they grew up and they moved out of the house. They were very prosperous, and they got together and they were bragging about the gifts that they had gotten for their mom. The one brother says, "Oh, I got Mom a new house." And the other brother says, "Well, I got Mom a new car and a driver to go along with it." The third brother says, "I've got you all beat. I got this parrot for Mom, and this parrot knows all of the verses of the Bible, because as you know, Mom can't see well enough to read, and I had to pay $100,000 a month just to get this parrot, because it took 12 years to teach him how to do this." So the mom sends out her Christmas letters of thank you, and the oldest brother, she says, "You know, that house is way too big and I'm tired of keeping it clean. You should have gotten me a smaller house." The second brother, she says to him, "You know, I never hardly ever use that car. I don't go anywhere, and that driver you got me is so rude." The third son, she says, "Dear Donald, thank you so much for understanding your mother so well. That chicken was delicious." So as you know, there can be miscommunications. So in order to avoid miscommunication, what you would want to do is fill out your living will. This is going to be your wishes, not what other people think that you want when you get in a position that you may not be able to speak for yourself on what you want, whether you want a feeding tube, whether you want to be put on oxygen. You know, do you want to be fed? Do you want to be forced to drink water when you're not really wanting it? That type of thing. So all of these things are very important that you share your wishes ahead of time and get them in writing so that people know what it is you want. It's in black and white. There's no argument about it. Well, they can argue, but when you've got it in black and white, it's not, you've got your wishes put down there. And then one of the other things, too, is people don't often have that conversation about whether they want CPR. If your heart stops and you've got a lot of medical conditions and you maybe think, you know what, I've lived a good enough life. If my heart stops, I don't think I want to be resuscitated. But if you haven't filled out the appropriate forms, the medical emergency people, when they show up, it's their job to keep you alive. But so you want to have that form, and it happens to be an orange form. So if you haven't done so already, make sure that you talk to your doctor about it, get that form, and if you decide you don't want it, that's okay, but have that conversation at least, so you kind of know what to look for or what to be thinking about. And then also, it's part of it is being intubated too, where they actually, they stick a tube down your throat. So if that's something you don't want, make that known. And as I said, have that conversation with your family. And one thing to understand, and hopefully, this may be a tip that you don't already know, is that the do not resuscitate order is only for emergency personnel. So if you end up in the hospital, that is no longer valid. You need to have a new form when you get into the hospital. So how many of you were aware that that was the case? That when you, okay, so a few of you, good to know. Yeah, and if you knew it already, it doesn't hurt to know it again. Yeah, the whole system can be very frustrating. Absolutely. And I've got a gal that I know that's working on this little bag, and it's called 911 Grab and Go. And what she's working on is having all of the forms and all the information that you need in that bag, so that when there's an emergency, you grab that bag and you go and you've got what you need, instead of getting to the hospital and they're wanting this and that, and maybe your medications. You don't remember exactly what you took and when they changed how many milligrams it was. So you get all these things in these, and I have just a little bag over here with me. So I just want to start spreading the word that she's working on that. That's kind of exciting for her. But my next tip, number 9, is do everything you can to avoid ending up in the hospital. And what do I mean by that? You want to take care of yourself and do your best to improve your physical health. And I don't know, I'm just going to wander over here because I don't know if this clicker will work. So rather than nag all of you, we get nagged enough for everything that we do and don't do. I would like to hopefully inspire you. So I'm going to share this little video. It is a nun that is 96 years old, I believe. And it's a Nike commercial. And hopefully the volume is good.
Madonna Buter, an 86-year-old nun. Oh, sorry, sister. Sister Madonna Buter, 86 years old, goes for a morning run. Good for you, sister. She's still active at her age. That's great. Oh, maybe a little too active. Nap time, sister?
I don't think so.
The sister doesn't think so. Okay. Wait, what? Iron Man? Oh, no. This is a bad idea, sister. A real bad idea. Somebody stop. She's the Iron Man. But she won't make it. This is an Iron Man.
The first 45 didn't kill me.
You've done 45 of these? Okay. Do your thing, sister. Do your thing.
Did you catch that? 45 Ironman triathlons. She started, I know how many of our jaws would drop, right? I'm not saying I expect all of you to just start doing Ironman triathlons, but what I am saying is that it's possible to be healthy and stay healthy. And I know we've all got challenges, but do your best that you can to keep moving as much as you can in your current situation. Let's see if I can move to the next one. Okay. So if that wasn't inspiring enough, here is a lady that is 105, and let me see if that works.
So what's so different about Tucson Strength?
There's all these ads, and so I decided I'm just going to skip over the ads. She's 105 years old, and she is running a 100-meter race. How many of you think that's a little risky for someone 105 to be running a 100-meter race? Yeah, but again, she's living life. She's enjoying herself. And that, to me, is what's the most important. So let me see if I can try to skip this ad. That's the trouble with things nowadays. You can't just watch something without having... What's life without a challenge? Here we go. I'm not sure how long this is. Oh, I see. It's getting there. It's getting there. How many of you partake in some sort of exercise on a daily basis? Okay, awesome. That's good. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be running a marathon, but just keep moving. What is happening here? Thank you for your patience here. I'm thinking that this is it's good advertisement for them. I got nothing for that. I just want to let you know. Okay. Here she goes. the sound is gone, but there she goes. Look, she almost trips even right there. So, but she's doing it. She's just doing it, and she's loving it, and that's what I find just so exciting and so inspiring. Okay. So as I said, I don't know what tip I'm on now, number 10. Just keep moving, even if it's just sitting in your recliner because your knees don't work anymore and you're just doing circles with your ankles. Just keep moving. Do your arm exercises, whatever you can do. Keep that blood flowing. It's so important to keep moving. This gentleman, I'm not even going to try to mess with the video. He died when he was 114, but basically his message was, I'm paraphrasing, stop eating and drinking all the crap. Right? We all know that we put stuff in our bodies, myself included. I still overdo it on the sugar from time to time. But what he's saying is if you eat healthy, you can be more healthy. So if we keep moving and we keep eating healthy, we are going to be better off. Now I have a client that had started taking mushrooms, and I won't get into details of the names and all of that. I want to let you guys do your research on some of these supplements. But she started taking mushrooms that actually helped her macular degeneration get better. It showed on the scans that they were doing, and her doctors were amazed. The other thing that she did was that she changed her diet because she has kidney failure. She's been at stage 4, and when she changed her diet, I'm sorry, I keep bumping her. She changed her diet, and now she's at stage 3. So she actually has gotten better by these changes that she made. So don't buy into the belief that as we age, we just automatically fall apart. We are not machines. Our bodies are built that if you give them a little bit of a challenge, your muscle gets stronger, right? If you challenge that muscle with a weight, it gets stronger. So our whole entire body, and this is the chiropractor coming out in me, is that we have the ability to heal if given the opportunity. So give that body what it needs to keep it healthy. And like I said, not everybody is that lucky. So there are people that are just going to be having challenges and you just can't overcome them. And that's part of life too. But why not do what you can when you can? So tip number 13 is hydrate. How many of us, and especially living here in the desert, we are just not hydrated enough. So I'd like all of your help. If you can all help me fill in the blanks here, because when I tell my clients you really need to hydrate, this little saying here is what I hear all the time, and hopefully these nurses in the room can help me. So if I drink more water, I have to run to the bathroom all the time. Exactly. So my advice for that is start referring to the bathroom as gym, not the John. So when you need to go to the bathroom, you can say, oh man, I've got to run to the gym again. And hopefully in your mind that'll help you to think, hey, I'm getting exercise. And so running to the bathroom is not the worst thing in the world, because not only are you getting exercise, you're also hydrating. Now, one of the things that a lot of people, even the medical doctors, are not aware of is that people as they age, the symptoms for a urinary tract infection, that my lead-in was the bathroom thing. So in case you didn't know that, the urinary tract infection can show up as confusion and agitation and more frequent falls. So when Aunt Sally starts to get really confused all of a sudden, don't just say, oh, well, her Alzheimer's must be getting worse. Make sure that you take the time to find out, is there an underlying medical condition that could be causing that? And I've had people take articles that I've sent to them to their doctor, and the doctor's like, oh, that's just hogwash. Keep pushing, because I can't tell you the number of times that clients have had a urinary tract infection that was causing the symptoms of the agitation, the falling, the confusion, and once that got cleared up, they were better. So make sure you remember that, so important. Another tip that I have is there's this stuff called Tegaderm. And, you know, as we get older, our skin gets a little thinner, and if you bump into something, your skin will tear. And this Tegaderm is actually the same kind of stuff that they use in the hospital when they put an IV on. It's that really thin film. Well, this you can buy over the counter, and you can actually, you put it on a wound, and you leave it for 7 days. Now, as long as there's not any signs of infection, it will heal, and it will heal pretty amazingly. I had a client that she pulled her little hot pack out of the microwave, and she had set the microwave for too long, and she burned almost her whole entire forearm, and we used this Tegaderm plus the Meta Honey, and she doesn't even have a scar, and she's in her 90s, so for her skin to heal so well with this product, it's good stuff. And again, I'm not getting any money for plugging this stuff. This is just stuff that I found that is good and I like, so I share it with everybody. But if you want to just avoid doing things that could cause you to get a skin tear or other injuries, tip number 17, make sure that I'm not maintaining, what am I on here? Using your equipment properly. How many of us have seen, or maybe even ourselves, right? You see the person with their walker, and their walker's like way out there. But that's not how a walker should be used. A walker needs to be right in front of the person, and they should just basically have their arm at like a 15-degree angle and walking, but not relying on it to hold them up. So these are little important things to keep us healthy, is to use all of our equipment properly. Canes, I've seen so many canes where they're too high, they're too low, they're using them on the wrong side. So make sure that if you have a walker or a cane, wheelchair, that you are using it properly. And then when you have these things, maintain them. I've taken people to the hospital and gone and gotten a wheelchair, come bring it out to the car, I go to lock the brakes and only one brake is working. No, that's just not safe. So just like you take your car in, you get the oil changed, you get the tires rotated, hopefully we're doing that. You want to do the same thing with your wheelchair and your walker, and even canes. Those little canes that are kind of expandable and they've got that little thing that you turn to tighten them. I don't know how many times I've seen where that little thing's not tight. So all of these little things to maintain that equipment can help you stay safe. And then the other thing is knowing what your medications are. And if you can't, we get to the point where you can't remember everything, you write it down, you have the name and everything. And then you make sure that you have that with you in your purse or your wallet, so that in an emergency situation, somebody's like, what medications are they on? You've got that on you so that the emergency personnel know what you're taking. And there's actually what's called the Beers criteria. Anyone heard of the Beers criteria? Has absolutely nothing to do with the alcoholic drink whatsoever. What it is a criteria of medications that they tell people as they get older to avoid, because there are so many side effects that they want people to stay away from certain medications. So look up the Beers criteria and take that to your doctor or to your pharmacist and look that over with them, because if you're on some of these medications, maybe you've been on it 20 years, and 20 years ago it wasn't a big deal. But now as you're getting older with those side effects, they may want to look at finding a different medication for you to take. And then if you're not already using one of these little medication reminders, if you're currently taking your pills out of the bottle, I would suggest, just because all of us, at times forget, gosh, I can't remember if I took my medication today or not. With these, you have You walk up and you go, oh, Tuesday's empty. I guess I took Tuesday because it's not there. And just get into a regular routine of doing that. Now I want to show you, I'm going to walk in front of this. They make these, I'll call it a machine. So it's a medication reminder, and I'll have this at the table, so stop by. But you set up your medications and it rotates and it's locked. So the only medications that you can get out of this are the medications that move in a circle at the times that you set. So if you only need medication once in the morning, you set the timer goes off, the light flashes, and it won't stop doing that until you have turned it upside down. So this is a really nice thing for, especially, I mean, I've got clients with memory loss, and man, without this, they'd be missing a lot of their medications or taking extra doses, which is not good either. So this is a nice little tool to have if you know someone.
Where do they sell those?
Amazon is where they've been getting most. I gotta start becoming an affiliate to get some points for this, huh? Just kidding. I don't like to do that. If I find a product that I like, I'm just gonna tell people about it and not be like, oh, I wanna get 10 cents for every sale. That's not. So, if you are finding things more challenging, give us a call. A+, we will come, we will do a consultation with you. If we can help you, great. If we can't, we will let you know and we'll help you find the folks that can help you. And even if you're not facing challenges right now, there may come a day, like I said, plan for the worst. There may come that day when you do need help. You find yourself in the emergency room and the discharge planner is saying, okay, you need to pick a home care company now because you need care for 24 hours or we won't let you go home. And you go, okay. Now you're at a pretty vulnerable place right there. You've got a complete stranger that's gonna show up at your house and take care of you that you've never met before. You don't know anything about the company. If you start checking companies out now, then when you're in that situation, then you can say, oh yeah, I've already got a company picked out that I want for my home care. A couple of years ago, I was actually working for another company as a case manager. Well, it's been longer ago than that, 4 years ago. Time goes by so fast. And we got a call from a lady that was in the hospital, and she desperately wanted to come home, but she was dying of cancer, and she came home on a stretcher. So imagine that you're coming home and you're on a stretcher, and you're meeting somebody for the first time. I mean, that's just so unsettling to me. So it happens to people. So if you want to avoid being in that situation, start making those calls, get to know the home care companies out there and what they're all about. And part of the planning is to know financially, can we afford this? And if we can't, what are our options? So my suggestion would be get with your financial advisor and talk to them about, hey, what's the deal? Now, some people have long-term care insurance that can actually be used for help in the home. So if you have a policy, pull it out and see what are those rules that I need to follow in order to get help in the home. Because some of them have very specific things, so maybe one home care company doesn't have a nurse on staff so that you can't use that company. Anyway, lots of rules to follow, so check out with your long-term care insurance if you don't have it. And like I said, talk with your advisor to find out. Another joke, gotta try to keep the jokes in now. I'm thinking I might skip this one because my husband didn't laugh at all. So I'm gonna try it anyway. I'm sorry, my voice is getting, my throat is getting dry. Okay, here we go. This couple was trying to save money. And so the wife decided, well, we're just gonna stop using our car as much as possible. And we're gonna start riding the bus. Well, one day the husband's thinking, you know what, for all the stops that this bus makes, I bet I can run home faster than this bus can get me home. Sure enough, the one day he decides that he's gonna do this and he runs home. Well, he makes it back the same time that the bus. I'm sorry, my throat is dry. You'd think I'd never do this much talking, huh? So he's all proud of himself and he goes in and he says, honey, I saved us $2 because I ran home instead of riding the bus. And she looks at him kind of with disgust and she goes, well, why didn't you run alongside the taxi? You could have saved us $20. I think the sequence I told it wasn't quite that way, so my husband didn't catch it. So the main thing is become really familiar with the options out there. Assisted living, memory care, there's also care homes where there's 10 to 12 people living in a home. There's all sorts of options. Not everybody can stay in their home, not everyone can afford it, and maybe that's not the ideal thing. Because if you're somebody that really enjoys a lot of interaction with people, but you don't have wonderful neighbors that stop by and visit you every day, like some, then you might want to go into assisted living because that's more going to keep you connected with more people. And as I mentioned, start calling and visiting. You know, if you visited one place every week, at the end of a year, you will have visited 52 home cares, or not home cares, but facilities. And there are a lot of facilities, so you might just be able to get through all of them. I don't know. Definitely not as many home companies as there are restaurants, though. But if home is where your heart is, please give us a call and we'll work with you to see if we can help figure out how we can keep you in your home as you age and as you face all of these challenges that come along. And as I said, you want to plan for the absolute worst, expect the very best, and then you won't get caught with your pants down. Thank you.